Yo! What's good, Josh Brush, man? So today we're back again with another video. This is really quick before we get into WrestleMania, which by the time this video over will be 3 o'clock my time, so it'll be less than 3 hours. But had to get my review out some way, shape, or form, even though I probably was better to get it out last night. But anyway, just gonna do a quick review. It's gonna be less than a 20-minute video, but here we go. I'm not gonna call it a match move for move. I know some people do that, but I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and give y'all the quick rundown. You know, you most likely seen what happened. But anyway, we started off the show, and I did stream it. So if you hadn't seen the stream, go check it out. My live reaction to it, and I'm gonna do another live reaction for night 2 of WrestleMania. But here we go. It started off with Jey Uso, the Yeet Man. Know what I'm saying? Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. So we started off like that. They did not main event WrestleMania. The Royal Rumble winner, who they keep saying on commentary is supposed to main event WrestleMania, he opened the show. But anyway, and it's funny how, main event, Jey Uso was not the main event. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. But anyway, so the only thing I'll call out as notable things I noticed, I think there was some super kicks for a near fall. Gunther hit him with a power bomb for a near fall. There was one where Gunther was about to hit a power bomb. Gunther counted into a hurricanrana, a spear, and a splash off the top. And I think that was a near fall as well. Then there was one where Jey, the ending here was Jey hit 3 splashes from basically almost every corner of the ring. Hit a Uso splash from one corner, then another corner, then another corner, and then Gunther's kind of, obviously, beat up and stuff like that. And as he's grabbing the ropes, as Jey Uso grabs a hold of him from behind and got him into a rear naked choke, and he has Gunther in the choke, you know what I'm saying? And then Gunther taps out. I was not expecting a tap out. I was expecting Gunther to lose, but I was not expecting a tap out. So tap out match, I gave it like a 7 out of 10 because it was a massive moment. But out of the 3 matches they had before this one, where Gunther beat them all 3 times, I thought those matches were better. I think the 3 matches they had were for the IC title. So yeah, the Intercontinental Championship, the King of the Ring tournament, and then this past year's Saturday night's main event that was in January. So that was how many matches we saw from. I actually thought those matches were better. So even though this is the big WrestleMania, this is when you want to have your best match. I didn't think they did that here. But anyway, gave it a 7 out of 10. Nice little celebration with Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, who was in the ring. So that was a cool moment for them, cool moment for the bros. But anyway, like I said, 7 out of 10. By this point, we were 1-0 in predictions. And Jey Uso, man, hopefully he continues to grow and get better. We know he can cut a promo, but sometimes the yeeting will make you think that he's not that good of a promo, but actually he is. But it's just when they do so much of the yeeting, it makes you think that's kind of like all he does is a few sentences and then yeet, you know what I'm saying? But he actually really can cut a promo, so hopefully, even though he's not the greatest guy in the ring, as far as not like he sucks, but he just doesn't give off like a must-see wrestler type vibe in the ring. Hopefully he can just keep growing and keep getting better, and I'm glad to see his popularity, his t-shirt sales that he's been doing, and all the popularity he's gotten, social views, whatever you want to say, over the last year. Jey Uso has been that guy. So I was a little iffy at first when he won the Royal Rumble, but I can't say it's not cool to see him win the World Heavyweight Championship. So that was a great moment to start off the show. That really felt WrestleMania-esque. So then the second match was the most pointless match. War Raiders versus the New Day for the World Heavyweight or World Tag Team Championships. Ended with nothing notable from this match. I mean, it really wasn't. It was not that long of a match either. I think the ending was the New Day hit like some type of tag team finish, and when they were counting the 1, 2, 3, I think Kofi was holding Eric's foot. Like Eric from the War Raiders, he was holding his foot down on the mat or something like that, and then they just hightailed it out with the World Tag Team Championship. So, match was disappointing. I gave it like a 4 or a 4. I gave it like a 4 or a 5 or something like that. And yeah, by this point it was like, another title change, by the way, back-to-back title changes. That part of it was crazy. So back-to-back title changes, but I was 2-0 in predictions. New Day wins. They need to do better on their heel run, That great segment they had with Big E, you would have thought that would have led to something more. You would have thought it would have at least led to more like captivating tag team feuds where maybe New Day could spotlight other tag teams and they could build great stories together and New Day's heat can get better, and then eventually, whoever they lose to could really benefit from them, but they didn't do it that way. They just kind of had them randomly feud with LWO, who always loses. And then now War Raiders, so War Raiders didn't really have that much of a reign either, as far as stuff you actually remember and was notable, they didn't have much of a reign either, but, you know, but we can't criticize, Triple H don't like that, we can't criticize, but, that's just my 2 cents. But anyway, back-to-back title changes. So first match was like decent. Second match was just like, was lifeless. Crowd was not really all that into it. And then we got on a third match that has been built up well. Naomi versus Jade. And this match, notable things from this match, Jade Cargill had a nice showing of power. I think she like caught Naomi or something like that. And like a vertical suplex. That was a nice show of strength. And did a little jackhammer. And then there was I think it was going to be like a Jaded off the top rope. But then Naomi countered into a bulldog. And then Jade ended the match by hitting Jaded in the... Well, she hit a nasty looking powerbomb. It was like she had her into an electric chair where, it's like a chicken fight where they're behind, on top of your shoulders like this. And their face is up here. You know what I'm saying? And she like popped her up and she turned herself around and powerbombed her. And that powerbomb looked freaking nasty. And then she hit her finisher Jaded like Beth Phoenix's, what's it called? I think Grand Slam or something like that. So yeah, boom, hit that move for the 1-2-3. So I was 3-0 in predictions, and she should have won this. If they're gonna build her up, especially if you ever want to put her in there with Charlotte, which we'll get to her in a little second here. But if they're gonna have a match like that, then yeah, you gotta capitalize on your wins. But I forgot to mention, Jay had a nice entrance. It was I think it was like the Raiders cheerleaders or something like that. They were dancing and stuff like that. And it was just a great looking visual, great WrestleMania 41 stage, nice looking visual. And, yeah, and he obviously, came from the crowd entrance because it's freaking WrestleMania. So, of course, this is the best time to have an entrance coming from the crowd. But, yeah, that was that entrance. And Naomi had got a new song. Because of her proceed with caution thing rather than feel the glow. So she got a new little interest, and then they had a little weatherman. Basically, he was announcing what the weather was and stuff like that, and then it led to, because, Jade's thing is that there's a storm coming, so then it transitioned into her music and stuff like that. So that was just some notable things on the entrances. But then, so she won that. We're 3-0 in predictions by this point, and now the fourth match was Jacob Fatu versus the United States champion LA Knight. Yeah. This one, I gave this maybe a 7 out of 10 as a 7 or 7.5 because I felt the match in ring quality wise was better. And so, yeah, Jacob made his entrance. He had a little mask or something like that. And then, I mean, Jacob looked scary enough, but he had a mask on and then, took it off, mask off type deal. So came down to the ring with Solo. Well, I think Solo was in the entryway with him, but I don't know if he came down to the ring with him. But anyway, then LA Knight pulled up in a Maserati. You know what I'm saying? He pulled up in a Maserati, rolled the window down, and then they played LA Knight's music. The crowd had a nice pop for him. He came down to the ring. And then the notable spots from this match was LA hit his LA elbow, the LA Knight, jumped on from the middle rope to the top rope and hit an elbow on Jacob while Jacob was standing. So it was like, that was a nice little visual. And then he did a super, when LA Knight jumps up from the ring to like the top rope while Jacob was up there and did a German suplex off the top. That was a nice spot. And then the best spot of the match, LA Knight hits his BFT where it's not a cutter. It's like he grabs you in a cutter position, but instead of like an RKO where he leaps into you, it's a cutter where like he grabs you right here and then propels you forward like that. So it was Jacob gonna do a moonsault. He goes into for the moonsault. He leaps off the top right, is a moonsault position, the backflip off the top rope, and LA Knight caught him into the BFT, which was freaking nasty. My reaction on it on TikTok, if you want to see my reactions on all these, like where you can see me and the clip I'm reacting to, right about there on that TikTok. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, posting all the clips like I will be for this WrestleMania night 2 as well. But anyway, yeah, he hit that. That was freaking the best spot of the match. And then the match ended with Jacob hitting, I think, 2 or 3 moonsaults off the top. 1, 2, 3. And we have a new United States champion, which by that, like I said, by this point, or now I'll say by this point, 4-0 in predictions. And yeah, it was great. So no solo interference or whatever. And then that was nice. I think Haku, that was Haku that came out there. And, he just, basically hugging on Jacob and stuff like that. From outside the ring and stuff like that. So that was a cool moment. But yeah, hopefully this will do great for Jacob Fatu, because like I said in my preview before I got to this review, I was saying that if Jacob wins this, this will propel him as far as being, okay, now he's a champion, adds more legitimacy to Jacob. Not that he needs that much more legitimacy, but still, as far as being accomplished and successful, adds that to his resume. Now he's U.S. champion, and that means, and I think he should actually have a long reign, because LA Knight's run wasn't even, I think this second run he had with the U.S. title was like 43 days, or I think they said it was like a 43-day reign. So yeah, Jacob should hold that title for a while, 6 months plus, I would think, because you don't need to be in a rush to have Jacob get pinned. We still haven't seen him get pinned. So he's lost like tag matches, but he's never been, pinned or submitted. So I think to keep that up, Jacob should hold that U.S. title for a while, and whoever beats him, maybe a Jimmy Uso down the line or something like that, whoever beats him will not only become the United States champion, but they'll be the first person to pin Jacob Fatu. So kill two birds with one stone, building up other talent. So I think they should have it on Jacob for a while. I don't think this one needs to be a transitional title reign like it was with LA Knight. Anyway, hopefully this propels LA Knight to the main event scene. Hopefully they can now build him up as one of their main event players, like how they pretty much just did with Jey Uso at this WrestleMania, making him world champion. Hopefully we can see that down the line this year for LA Knight, man. He's been in the business for a long time, knows what he's doing, has the popularity. So to grow that popularity or to keep that popularity, you have to, obviously level him up. So hopefully this levels him up on the card for LA Knight, and now that he can start to become one of the main eventers, like, Randy Orton and Drew and Roman and Seth and Punk and all the above and everything like that. Hopefully he's on that path to become one of the top stars in the business. But anyway, Randy Orton and others. So anyway, next match I think was Rey Fenix versus El Grande Americano, and El Grande Americano's entrance was just so egregious because they, obviously they made it all up. So we're thinking this is Chad Gable, you know what I'm saying? And obviously he was gonna face Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio on the night before Friday night SmackDown before WrestleMania, he got injured, I think, in the match or hurt in some way somehow. So they replaced him with Rey Fenix. So it's pretty cool that Rey Fenix and his brother Penta we're both on the Penta's wrestling tonight and Rey Fenix wrestled yesterday. So great to see both of them, basically having their WrestleMania debut at the same time or on the same WrestleMania. But anyway, match was fine. They did some, luchador moves, but it just didn't have that importance. Like the match didn't have that importance. Only thing that was worth note was the freaking reverse 450 that we're assuming Chad Gable, that, we're thinking it's Chad Gable. We don't know for sure because I ain't seen Chad Gable do this. But Chad Gable did a backflip, and instead of doing a moonsault where you just backflip and land on your stomach, he kept rotating. Like backflip where you would land on your stomach, kept rotating until he hit his back onto Rey Fenix. That was so basically a reverse 450 where you would usually front flip and then keep going until you get to your stomach. He did it the other way around where you backflip until you land on your back rather than your stomach. So that was freaking nasty. That was great. And of course, you would save a move like that we never see or have never seen before for WrestleMania, of course. You know what I'm saying? Makes sense. But boom, he hits that move, and then he does the thing where he has this little metal plate that he put in his mask so that when Rey Fenix did his running on the ropes and kicking him in the face, he ended up hurting, Rey Fenix ended up hurting his foot, obviously, because he kicked the metal thing in his head. And then it ended with what we're assuming to be Chad Gable. El Grande Americano hit his, flying headbutt off the top. I think that was the finish. And 1, 2, 3. So Rey Fenix has already suffered his first pinfall loss, even though he, cheated. He's already suffered his first pinfall loss. So at this point, I was 5-0 in predictions. And now we get on to the match that we was all concerned about, and I'm glad I was wrong on this. I was thinking that Tiffany was going to win, but the reason why I chose Charlotte to think that she was going to win is just because I was trying to base it off what I think the company might do. So I thought the company might give it to Charlotte, but no, they actually had enough sense to keep it on Tiffany. Even if Charlotte wins like a backlash or something, if they feel the need that, well, fine, we'll give Tiffany the WrestleMania win, but gotta give Charlotte at least the next PLE, which is fine, whatever. But anyway, at least they made it right here because it was Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. Tiffany Stratton had an entrance where it was like 3 Barbie doll-esque boxes, and she was in the middle one, and then she had one on the left that showed her like in boxing gear. So it was a moving video as well. It was like a moving video of her in boxing gear, and then one in just her, some normal outfit wear, and then the one in the middle is her in her wrestling gear, which was actually her. With the championship. So she comes out of that. That was a nice entrance. And then I think Charlotte Flair pulled up in, I forgot what she pulled up in. It was some car. I forgot what car it was. Was it a Mercedes or I don't know what she pulled up in, but she pulled up in a car. Charlotte had her entrance, walked down to the ramp, got some pyro, of course. But then this match, nothing notable happened. It was a natural selection where she flips over. It's like a cutter, but she like flips over the top of you first and then hits the cutter. Or yeah. She goes over the top of you and then hits the cutter. She did that off the top rope to Tiffany. There was one where Charlotte was going for, I think she was going for like the moonsault that she does to the floor. Tiffany attacked the knee that she had with the brace. That was smart, and everybody should do that. If you see that freaking clear target right there, but she went after that. And the match just ended with her, Tiffany, doing her usual setup to the prettiest moonsault ever, where she does the, rolling senton, or rolling, is it a rolling senton? Where they put them on the top, fireman's carry, and then just roll forward. So she did that, and then right after hit her moonsault. 1, 2, 3, man. So I was 5-1 on predictions by this point, but I'm glad that I was wrong on this one, you know what I'm saying? Because Tiffany, has gotten herself over authentically, and, let her ride the lightning bolt. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm going to keep saying on this channel for when we keep doing well and stuff like that, man. Riding the lightning bolt as the champion. Like I said, she's over. There's no need to rush getting the championship off her, especially when it comes to Charlotte getting a 15th world title. Like, we definitely don't need to be in no rush to get that. But anyway, this match was just not that good, man. I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought that. Gave this match maybe like a 5 or a 6. They just did not, 5, it's like 5, almost 5.5, because they made the right result. So 5 or 5.5, because, obviously for those who don't know, during the build-up, they had some, the build-up wasn't that great until they had that off-script, or whatever you want to say, promo where Tiffany, called her, said she was 0-3 in divorce, and she'll also lose at WrestleMania. So they got a little shoot there, a little real life right there. So, other than that, and that was like the only thing that really gave it some buzz and intrigue. And then, so Tiffany won. Like I said, match was like 5, 5.5. They just didn't gel well in the ring. I don't know if it's because they didn't have any chemistry, or maybe because their real life, I would think, tension for each other maybe carry throughout this match. But yeah, it just was not good. Considering good. Considering the last time we saw Charlotte at WrestleMania 39, or at WrestleMania at least, WrestleMania 39 versus Rhea was like one of the greatest women's matches of all time, and then this match was just the complete opposite. But anyway, move on to the main event. I thought it was going to be under 20 minutes, but I'm guessing when I discuss the main event, it's going to go more than that. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the soul of the WWE, because they didn't have anything on the line. So Seth made his entrance in this big, like, black, thick coat type of thing. And he had a flamethrower as well. That was cool. He had the flamethrower. It reminded me of what Rock did at WrestleMania 32 when he came out there with the flamethrower as well. And then the lights turned out. And then Seth was in all white when the lights came back on. So he makes his way to the ring. And then Roman was out by himself, man, looking freaking ripped. You know what I'm saying? He came out there with his music, and his different members of his family was on, like I said, the WrestleMania set had different little like screens and stuff like that. So on each screen, you would see members of his family as he was making his way to the ring. That was really cool. His dad, rest in peace, Sika, and just different members of his family showing up on the screen as he was making his way to the ring. And no Paul Heyman, man, no bloodline, no Paul Heyman, no nobody. First time Roman since he's been the tribal chief making his entrance to the ring by himself. So freaking crazy. But anyway, Punk had his entrance, and it was a promo package of him basically saying some of the stuff he said when he first got in WWE, and they synced it together where modern Punk, current CM Punk, was saying the same stuff that past CM Punk was when he first got in WWE around that 2005-06 time. And yeah, explaining himself, right? He's straight edge, and he's this, and he's that. And they played this Fire That Burns, which was his first theme song in WWE, which was great. This fire burns always. And then, that was the song also when he went against Cena 2011 Money in the Bank, was a great freaking entrance and crowd for that match. So that song coming back was great. And then his entrance was his the band that made his music, Living Color, playing Cult of Personality live. The band live played it to the ring. So Punk came out there with the yellow gear, reminded me of like old school CM Punk, or like that 2012-13 time CM Punk. Well, really, no, I think he wore yellow gear in 2009 as well. So yeah, basically that and the hoodie, and then he came out with Paul Heyman because that was the favorite that he had to come out there with Paul Heyman for helping him out at War Games last year. and came out there with Heyman, and Heyman smiling, and he even danced a little bit to the band playing the music, Cult of Personality. And then he does the, the watch for this clobbering time, and he does the thing where he looks at, Heyman's watch too, because Heyman's, doing it as well. And so we get a WrestleMania size that's clobbering time, and then we get go time in the center of the ring. Only thing notable in the match past the finish was threw each other out to the barricade. They fought in the crowd a little bit. They power bombed. I think Roman powerbombed Punk through a table when Seth was trying to basically say that he's the enemy and stuff like that. He slapped Seth in the face and then powerbombed Punk through the table, powerbombed Seth through the table, hit a spear on Seth after he powerbombed through the table, and that was a near fall. So they were kicking out of each other's finishes, and then there was one where everybody hit their finish, like Punk hit like Seth with a GTS, and Roman hit a spear on Punk, and then there was a stomp to Roman, and so they were all laid out. Then there was a spot where they all did their submissions. I think Roman had his little guillotine choke on was it Punk or somebody, and then that transition from Punk hitting his Anaconda Vice submission. Then Seth did like a sharpshooter. I forget who did on what, but yeah, they were exchanging submissions. So basically, it was exchanging like submissions and kicking out of finishers. A lot of good near falls. But let's get to the meat of the matter. Heyman, after this match goes on and no one's winning, Heyman grabs a steel chair and has the decision to either give it to Punk or Roman, and he takes a little second and he gives it to Punk. So you're like, oh, he's joining Punk, and I was like, wow, I feel like he about to do something. I said this in the stream, and he did, man. He low blowed the little low blow right in between the jewels, and and gave the chair to Roman Reigns and said that, he was like, you made me do this because of the favor, right? He was like saying to Punk, you made me do this, and basically betray my tribal chief. Gave the chair to Roman, and Roman's about to do the old school Shield throwback where, when Roman's back was turned, Seth broke up the Shield by hitting him in the back with the steel chair. And so Roman was about to hit Seth with the steel chair, so reminiscing of that, while Seth's back was turned, and then Paul Heyman low blows Roman. So his goddamn tribal chief, head of the table, all that, he low blowed him. So boom, chair drops, and Seth is like freaking smiling and smirking and stuff like that, and then Seth picks up the steel chair, hits Roman in the, again, old school Shield throwback with the, that's how he betrayed him, right? Everybody's back was turned, and then he hit Roman with the steel chair. So he did it at WrestleMania 40. Roman did it to Seth, and now WrestleMania 41, Seth does it. Roman got his favor back, got his get back essentially. Hits Roman in the back with the steel chair, and then hits a stomp, and that was the 1, 2, 3. Seth pins Roman again, man. The whole story and the fact of the matter is, like, Roman has never been able to beat Seth Rollins when it matters the most, like on the big stages, and that still continues to be the case. So Seth beats Roman. So Seth wins this match. Seth beats Roman. He wins this match. And, Roman and Punk afterwards were just like, had that blank look on their face and stuff like that. Like they don't know what just happened. So now we have this essential alliance there with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman as they were walking out of the arena and stuff like that and standing tall. Well, they stood tall at first, together, and then they walked out of the arena. And then that's basically how we went off the air. So I was ultimately 6-1 on predictions out of 7 matches. I got 6 right. So anyway, I love and appreciate you guys. Y'all let me know in the comment section down below, what do y'all think this is going to lead to? Some people are saying maybe this is how they tie in maybe Seth as another man under The Rock, because, right, Cena's aligned with The Rock. Maybe Seth can be the full-time wrestler since he's going to be there all the time. Now he could be aligned with The Rock. And maybe Paul Heyman is working with Rock as well, because it makes sense with the whole bloodline stuff. So a lot of good things can happen here. Like I said, Seth could end up being the third man. Now he may be the one to also sell his soul, because aligning yourself with slimeball Paul Heyman, I think that counts as selling your soul a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So some people think that they're going to all like tie that all in together, as maybe there'll be like the big, essentially the new modern version of like a corporation or an NWO and something like that, as far as the big bad for the baby faces like Roman and Punk and others that have to team up against eventually. So great story they told at the end of this match. I gave it like a 9.5, or really 9.5 or a 10. There was not really much better. Nothing else they could have really done this match, so it might as well be a 10 out of 10, because unless you can think of something else they can done in this match, 10 out of 10 match, great triple threat match. Probably the greatest recent triple threat match, no doubt. As far as your storytelling is concerned, great near falls. Everybody you care about, the story is great. So everything was just on point. Plot twist at the end of the match. So everything was on point. 10 out of 10 match. So overall, WrestleMania, I could give it night one, give maybe a 6 out of 10 or a 6.5, because outside of like how it, funny enough, both Samoans of the Samoan family, Jey Uso won the World Heavyweight Championship, Jacob Fatu won the U.S. Championship, and funny enough, Roman, the unlucky Samoan, got pinned by the end of the night in the main event of WrestleMania Night 1. So I give this like a 6 or a 6.5 out of 10, because outside of like it, you know, Jey Uso getting his big moment and then the plot twist and just great match overall at the end of the night, that was the only things that really felt like WrestleMania worthy. But match-wise, there seems like a lot of things for tonight, night 2, which I will be streaming, of WrestleMania, looks a lot better, at least match-wise. You know, you got Bianca, Rhea, and Io. You got Logan and AJ, who should be able to kill it. Braun Breaker in a fatal 4-way with Penta, Dom, and Finn. That should be great. So, and obviously the big main event where we hope John Cena wins. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. But we will be in for a thrill tonight. But I got to go to this Easter thing for a minute. Then I'm going to get right back here and we'll be ready to stream for WrestleMania Night 2. Y'all join us, man. But love and appreciate you guys. At the end of the day, what can I say? It is what it is, and what's going to be this project. Continue to come out with the content, the videos, bangers over and over again. Y'all let me know. I'll probably have a more deeper discussion on this since I'll have more time to talk about it post WrestleMania. But I will see y'all for Night 2 WrestleMania, man. Love and appreciate you guys. Follow all the socials down below. They there for a reason. Love and appreciate you guys. We're going to keep grinding till we get to the top, and then we just going to keep going from there. And I should love and appreciate you guys, and I shall see y'all in the next video. Y'all comment down below what y'all rated this night of WrestleMania 41, night 1 of WrestleMania 41, down below in the comments. We're going to keep doing our thing, and y'all keep doing y'all thing, man. That is the vibe that DJ's on. I'm out of here.